Hello everybody, we're the Geeks and the Janets. I am Manzo. This is my forever co-host Jum, and today we talk about The Descent. Following our 28 days later video, here's another smaller horror movie. But it's pretty effective, in my opinion, even before the monsters show up. But yeah, how did you learn about this movie?
Uh, well, back in the day when Watch Mojo was still like a good source of hey, this is where you find the best shit,
Yeah.
or this is the best movies or the worst movies. Yeah, I happened to watch it with a couple of friends. I suggested it on a movie night, and not gonna lie, first 60 minutes,
Yeah.
we were all kind of just oh, what is this? CGI's a little bit off. The story's there.
Yeah.
Clearly, we get what the story's about. But it's just that we're oh, I thought we were watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I was oh, watching it, I was is this more psychological? Is the danger not really there?
Yeah.
And then that's when it fucking hits you. We're oh, shit.
Right?
Danger's there.
Yeah, I think I heard about this from Dead Meat with James A. Janice, he was doing a countdown. And I was I should watch this movie myself. And it just follows a group of friends. One of them is they're led by Susan, I believe the main character's name is, and they all are extreme sports enthusiasts. They like kayaking, they all all that jazz. And after the tragedy that happens to Susan, they are for healing, let's go spelunking. And you're you know what? Everybody has their thing, so why not?
I know, but I'm just y'all couldn't just been hey, let's go to the Bahamas, or let's just go out to a beach and just reflect on our friend. you know Especially don't bring anyone new. It's just
Yeah, especially
yeah.
to the most remote cave system there is in the world. You're
In the Appalachian Mountains too. I'm just
yeah,
this is the most haunted fucking place there is in America. I'm really?
yeah. And even before the monsters show up, like they're already pushing the limits of
The jump scares.
Yeah.
I'm okay, hold on. I wasn't ready for this shit.
I was I never knew I was claustrophobic until now. When they're going deeper into the cave system and our lead gets stuck in a collapsing system. I'm that's my worst fear. Being stuck in a cave with the rising water level. I'd be I rather get shot.
Do you already see TikTokers just making fun of people who are cave divers?
Yeah.
Where they're I've dislocated my shoulder so I can finally move 9 inches. I'm just why would anyone want to do this?
Yeah, later
I
on
don't understand.
one of them breaks their leg in a bad way, and you're of all the places to break your leg, it had to be here.
And it's the one that's she's this place is just a tourist trap. 8-8, a real challenge, breaks leg. I'm that's pretty challenging.
Yeah. And you couldn't have just break your leg in a public area where people can just bring you to the hospital right away. No, you had to break your leg in a place that nobody visits at all, unless you're insane or extreme sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, but we're also introduced to a major character named Juno here.
Yeah.
This lady has the audacity to kind of just have something with what was the name of our main character?
Susan.
Susan's husband.
Yeah.
As we saw from the first part before he,
Died.
at Final Destination. There seemed to be some kind of tension there, whether it be sexual or it's up to your interpretation. And then this lady, she's not really known for great decisions, and she was hey, this is an entirely new unexplored cave.
Yeah.
Leave the fucking manual in the car, just to freak everyone even worse. Just make it the entire situation even more dire.
Yeah.
That they're hey, remember that map? They didn't bring it.
And you're introduced to the Wendigos. I don't know what they are actually, but I think they're Wendigos.
I wouldn't say Wendigos because they didn't really shapeshift or some shit.
Oh yeah, that's true. They are effective though. Like, there's no cheap jump scare here. It's just you like it's the thing where you turn the corner and you're like nothing's there, and you turn the corner again. You're like something is there. Holy fuck!
Yeah. It's very effective. I love it. I think they're more mole men than they are Wendigos.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
Like,
they're blind. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
But I do love that. Like, I was like, oh wow, yeah, they're exploring the cave. They show how vast it is.
yeah.
I think you see one of the silhouettes just like go on all fours. I was like, I like rewatching it first time. I was like, wait a minute, go back.
I saw something, and then when the group splits, like, Susan's best friend tries to get Juno back, but she gets murked instead. And I'm like, wow, that is gruesome. Poor
Wait,
girl.
what?
The best friend of Susan who gets stabbed in the throat by Juno.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of skipped a pretty big part because this is the time when they actually introduce the fucking monster.
Yeah, the
They're-
first attack.
Like the entire time, it's like, is it in our head? But we do see it in the sides, and then you get fucking attacked. It's pretty brutal. Like that poor girl who like broke her leg.
Doesn't even make it.
she fucking gets taken out while sitting down because she can't move.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. And then yeah, like Juno starts taking out all the fucking things. I'm like, badass. And
Yeah.
then she murks her friend by accident because she's a little too like.
Jumpy.
Yeah, in my opinion, if I see Enzo, like full on, maybe Tondo style shank a monster, I'm not gonna be like, hey friend, and be close to you. I'll be like, dude, turn around, everything's okay.
Yeah, not the best decision making on her part. But like,
Yeah.
also Susan handles business with the monsters. She's able to like sneak around and just take out like 3 of them, including a big
Yeah.
guy.
Well, yeah, this is her after a concussion, by the way.
Yeah.
Like she, like while they're having like this whole scuffle, she happens to slip and like smack her head on like a piece of rock. I was just like, oh, I don't know if you should be alive,
Right?
but okay.
She also has to put down or like take her friend out of her misery, and you're like, well,
Oh yeah,
that's brutal.
yeah. After being revealed that like, hey, don't trust Juno. I'm like, I feel like you should have not trust Juno.
Yeah,
You know, we should all just go to a cafe next time. Yeah.
if there is a next time, we should just hang out somewhere that's in public, and we can all
Yeah.
quickly go to the emergency room if need be.
Like get a cake or something. You know.
Yeah, takes her out with a rock, and you're like, well, that's not clean. That's just brutal.
It's like mercy killing roadkill. I'm just like, oh lord.
Right? Like the 2 other friends don't fare better because they try to climb back without any rope, and you're like, yeah, this is not the best decision making.
Not all, like 2 sisters, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The nurse with like a bad hand tries to climb back, and she gets taken out by one of the mole men upside down. You're like,
Yeah.
well, shit.
Well, not gonna like kind of cool though, because she gets him, but she's like, you know, she kind of like just dangles. I'm like, all right.
Compared to her other friend who just gets disemboweled, you're like, well, I guess none of you are making it out alive or unscarred.
This, by the way, this is a very effective movie.
Yeah.
Just like this is not just like a fun monster of the week kind of like, oh, it's just people dying and shit. This ain't it. The entire time while we're going through this, it's dark, it's tight, and I put any euphemism you want, but like it's claustrophobic.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the effective part of this entire movie is not just like, oh yeah, there's a monster. It's just the environment itself. It's kind of like a shark movie, but you're in the water.
Yeah, you're like in
The
deep.
environment itself is making you more anxious than the actual monster.
You're just surrounded by water. It's like that Blake Lively movie when she gets attacked by a shark. She's just surrounded by water. I'm like, well, that's a nightmare scenario. It also doesn't help that the movie really shows how much lack of light there is in the cave system. And you're like, well, I'm more scared now. again, going back to the beginning, I'm like, I never knew claustrophobia was my fear until now. I have been mistaken.
Yeah, like I mean, even the first part where like Susan kind of like gets trapped, and she has to like be soothed by one of her friends and be like, she's like hyperventilated, waters are kind of rising. I'm like, you know what, babes? They're for brave people. It's okay. I'm not brave.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's why I've been invited to do spelunking once in Sagada. I was like, you know what? No, thank you.
You know, I'm rather stay above ground. You know.
Yeah. But anyway, like there's this. I do like the last sequence between Juno and Susan where they have to fight the mole man by themselves.
Mm.
And then there's this moment of just no words, just pure like body language where Susan reveals like, "Oh, I know what you did with my guy before he died." Yeah. Then just caps Juno, and you're like, "Oh, okay." And then Juno's like, "All right, I'm ready to take these fuckers." Oh, fuck, that's a lot of you.
Yeah, girl tried to pull a Doom Raider, but she wasn't in.
Yeah.
You ain't that guy, Juno. I'm sorry. But yeah, and then we kind of like watch Susan just crawl out of Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And just be like, "Hey, I made it out." I was like, "Cool." I don't know what ending you got. Can you tell me? Because I got a pretty dark ending.
Yeah,
I know there's two.
There's the U.S. ending where it just ends with her taking a moment to breathe after escaping, and then that fake jump scare, and then it just ends there. The UK ending is the one where she gets jump scared and she wakes up and the cave system still
and
under.
She's still in the cave. That's the ending I got.
Yeah.
And I was like, first time watching, I was like, "Oh, that's fuck." Did the entire thing that happened with Juno really happened?
I think it did, but there was a moment where she escapes that she falls down a hole. And then,
yeah, right. And she already has kind of like, a busted up head.
Yeah.
So you can't really be like, "Hey, is this person okay?"
Yeah. And then she just spends, I guess, her last moments thinking about her daughter that she lost at the beginning, and you're like, well, that's bleak. But ballsy. I like this ending.
I also like this ending. I prefer that ending more than the jump scare. Oh, she's the only one who made it out.
Yeah. And then it ends with like the picture they took at the beginning as if like this is the real event that happened. And I'm like, wow, that's haunting.
Based on a true story. I'm like,
no.
I'm never gonna spelunk if that's based on a true story.
Yeah.
I'm like, no thank you.
But knowing how many people get lost in the American cave system, I'd be like, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if this was inspired by a true story of people just going into caves and never coming out.
Dude, there's a lot. There are people who just dive God knows how many meters down under like underwater. People go into jungles and just never come back, or people spelunking into caves and just being part of the cave forever.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, you know what? The only thrill I like is driving a little fast. Just like, but I'll rather stay up here, where God meant us to be.
You know what's scarier than cave diving is underwater cave diving, where you're like, yeah, that just increases the risk of me dying slowly, rather not.
Exactly. And then you can't even, once you make it out of there, you can't even go up for air
quickly
immediately.
Yeah.
You gotta have to wait for 3 hours because of the bends. I'm like, no, I want to be out of the situation as fast as possible.
Yeah. Like, I just like snorkeling when I can see the bottom, It seems safer. Anyway, what would you rate The Descent?
I'd rate The Descent like a solid 8 out of 10. It is a fucking good movie in my opinion.
Yeah.
Some CGI stuff wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I think one of the first scenes was the bats.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a little off. But other than that, that's the only time when I feel like they used CGI.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just practical all throughout. Like that one scene where she kind of comes out of the river of blood.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's cool.
Right.
Them just kind of cavemaning it, shivved in hand or huge bone in hand, beating these mole men out like just to survive. I don't know, it's great.
Yeah.
And then, and like not gonna lie, it wasn't just like creatures themselves as is like was the only threat.
Yeah.
It was the cave,
Yeah.
and not gonna lie, it was a character in of itself.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I'll give this an 8 out of 10 as well. It's a pretty good horror movie. I do like the usage of more practical effects, especially that one big mole man that steps on poor Susan for a bit, and I'm like, well, that's terrifying. She still takes it out by the end. I'm like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like you said, it's a terrifying environment as well. It helps the storytelling. It's not like they're in like the suburbs being haunted, and they're like, you know what, I can just go home and live peacefully. You're like, you still have to get out of the cave, drive back, God knows how many miles till you reach a small town, maybe.
Civilization,
yeah,
you know, like
not even a big
covered
city.
with blood. You're traumatized. I'm like, you know what? I feel like a lot of people would just be like, I think you killed him.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not even a big city. Maybe just a small town and the gas station. You're like, well, I'm in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. And like it's a very effective, straightforward storytelling. It's a shame that the director, I think the next big thing he directed was the David Harbour Hellboy movie, which is not the best, but
It is a bit of a shame.
yeah,
But yeah.
but yeah, it happens to the best directors. But yeah, to the audience watching, if you are into extreme sports, which ones would you like to take up? Whether that be kayaking, cave diving, what else is there? BMXing.
Or you know what? If you're a person who just likes to stay home, staying above ground, which ones would you not go? Which ones would you not do?
If you rather live a casual life, what's your casual hobby? Is it D&D, chess, sports,
Video
basketball?
games? I don't know.
Yeah, comment down below. I'm getting into Warhammer. What about you?
I'm building my car bit by bit.
Alright.
And
Yeah.
also, I have like a shit ton of like PCs at the back. So I'm getting into that now too.
Alright. But yeah, if you like what you see here, please leave a like, subscribe, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. We're also on Spotify and TikTok. TikTok to see your best and funniest moments. Spotify to hear us on the go. In the video, I'm Zoda's Voices on TikTok and Anne's Waffle Letterbox. Where can they find you?
Well, you can find me at JomJuM_ on Instagram. It is Mardigan.
And until the next time, we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.